Presenting the social science, Dr. Samraevich.
This year's Department Scholar Awards for Social Studies go to Sarah Blair, Jonathan Hahn, Donnie Sproul, and Curtis Wu. Would you please come forward? All four are, of course, Tiger of the Year candidates, and all four are scholar athletes. In all modesty, it was my privilege to compete against two of these scholar athletes in this year's dodgeball tournament. Donnie and Curtis, two of Valencia's finest athletes, were on a student team. I was on a team that included two men well into their 50s and a woman who weighs about 93 pounds. Surprisingly, after a hard-fought battle, the old and frail teacher's team defeated Donnie and Curtis's team. I don't mention this to gloat or to trash talk in any way. I'm just savoring this moment. Donnie, this is nothing personal, but Curtis is a far better dodgeball player than you are. Donnie, you played dodgeball like a football player. Crash and burn aggression is good for football, but a prescription for disaster in dodgeball. Tennis skills, on the other hand, carry over directly into the art of dodgeball. Curtis's footwork, court sense, patience, and inherent intelligence were impressive and provide something of a metaphor for what both he and Donnie bring to a social studies classroom. The phenomenal math and science skills that Curtis and Donnie possess are grounded in processes of sound logic that carry over into social studies analysis. Both are capable of looking at complex phenomena and getting to the essential questions that remain. In the field of social studies, where significant absolute answers are few, the most difficult task is often finding the right questions. Anyone who has been in class with Curtis has witnessed the sharp and agile mind that sees the whole picture, identifies the essential components, and probes the areas of uncertainty. Curtis embodies those two virtues that define intelligence: curiosity and imagination. Donnie's much the same. His research in the higher level International Baccalaureate History class examined the Second Taiwan Straits Crisis of 1958. Donnie probed the event largely from the perspective of Mao's China and astutely identified the key foreign and domestic issues that frame Mao's seemingly contradictory decisions. It is a complex interaction of Mao's concerns with Soviet and American power, as well as the domestic crisis created by the human tragedy known as the Great Leap Forward, that helped to explain Mao's policy. It was not an easy topic, but Donnie saw through the complexity and was able to address many vital questions. In short, Donnie is a much better historian than he is a dodgeball player. Sarah Blair brings tons of energy and heart into everything she does. There was, however, a disturbing moment late this semester that caused me some concern with Sarah. Just prior to the prom, a young man with whom she is known to consort asked if he could borrow a brief moment of class time to show a slide through which he would publicly invite her to the prom. I consented to read the content of the slide to the class. As I recall, it went something like this. My dear Sarah, you are the Ronald Reagan to my Republican Party. You are the Richard Nixon to my Vietnam War. You are the Ayatollah Khomeini to my Islamic Revolution. Sarah, would you be my date to the prom? Signed, Mitchell Antelek. It was hard to tell which was more disturbing, Mitchell's perverse sense of history or the fact that Sarah accepted the prom invitation on Sarah's research for the IB diploma included an examination on the interface between the feminist movement that emerged in the aftermath of World War I and the Girl Scouts of America. It is a fascinating study in the ways that institutions embrace and transform ideas. It is a rich vein of inquiry that scholars will continue to probe for many years to come. In other words, Sarah, too, is asking the right questions. Her other area of research inquiry looked at the effects of globalization on the small island of Penang in Malaysia, part of her ancestral homeland. A study of Penang illuminates many key trends in the emerging supranational global order. The paper is worthy of a wide reading as it stands. One hopes that she will take the opportunity to further this line of investigation in her post-secondary studies. Now, to those of you who know the class of 2010 well, you know that it is a group with great imagination and a sense of adventure that sometimes came at the expense of academic rigor. I'll just mention Jay Chang as a case in point. While I will, and Jay, this was one of the great moments in my high school classroom, don't get me wrong, Jay affected a Vietnamese accent, speaking English, playing the role of a Vietnamese peasant who chose to join the Viet Cong. He did a fantastic job. That interview was a great moment in my teaching life. Yeah. But there are other dimensions to Jay's appreciation for linguistics that I did not find as compelling. After watching a documentary on the Vietnam War in which an American Marine from Texas spoke Vietnamese with a southern drawl, and the North Vietnamese General Giap was interviewed speaking fluent French but in a heavy Vietnamese accent, Jay decided that he wanted to learn both Vietnamese and French. However, it was not the languages that compelled him, but the thought that it would be cool to speak Vietnamese with a Texas accent and French with a Vietnamese accent. Jay, I think you may be doing all the right things for all the wrong reasons. Now, the point here, though, is that this class had a sense of fun, and when you have a group that has a sense of fun like that, it's a lot of fun to work with them, but you really rely on somebody like Jonathan Hahn to be in class, because Jonathan provided the spirit of diligence, maturity, sobriety, and scholarship that kept the class from going out of control. But in the end, even Jonathan succumbed to the influence of his colleagues. Toward the end of the year, as part of a discussion, I asked the following question to the class. In what shape was the Soviet bloc in the 1980s? Jonathan raised his hand and answered, cubic. There was a stunned moment of silence, then an outburst of laughter. Sarah stands up in her seat, reached across a row of students, and high-fived Jonathan as if to say, welcome to the dark side. I hung my head in resignation. Seriously though, it has been a privilege to work with this class over the last 4 years, and it has been a special privilege to work with Jonathan both as a student and as a member of the academic decathlon team. Jonathan's IB research studied the United States Office of War Information during World War II. His paper represents an important inquiry into how corporate interests interact with public institutions in the vital matter of how war gets sold in a democratic society. It is hard to imagine a more important topic. Jonathan consistently probed the right questions, and he has developed a framework of understanding that will lead him to provide answers to those questions. Jonathan has been and will continue to be a leader despite his occasional lapse into frivolities. The answers he is providing will influence an ever-broadening audience. On the basis of a decision made by the Social Studies Department, it is my honor to present Jonathan Hahn with this year's medallion in Social Studies. Please give a hand.